Welcome back to another episode of the Fritts Show. We have the Week 3 preview show. We're picking all the top 25 games. Let's get into it.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal.
Okay, you'll see it right here. A big one to start this video off because Boston College, they're in the top 25 now, number 24 at Missouri, number 6 in the country. Missouri, 16.5-point favorites. This is a fun one. And PSA, I go with the gut here at the Fritts Show. My picks are based on what the gut tells me when I see the line, when I see the game. Now, the gut's doing really well this year, 30-13. 30-13. That is incredible. Almost 75%, I believe, percentage hit rate right there. That is impressive stuff. Not to toot my own horn, but it is. However, occasionally, especially last year, I would look at some of the stats, some of the trends going into these games, and I would reverse course. I would say, whoa, the stats are telling me one thing, and the gut is telling me another. And then I would get the pick wrong. So what we're doing this year is we're picking the game before I see the stats, and then I'll look at the stats and say, hey, the gut is telling me what the stats aren't telling me. That's where the gut comes into play, and that's why it's so important. Okay. Now, before I get to my pick, some of the trends going into this game, guys. Boston College, as we all know, they knocked off Florida State a couple weeks ago. Thomas Castellanos is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the entire country. Now, he may not be the passer that Brady Cook is over there on Missouri side, okay? However, he is 17 times the runner. 17 times the runner that Brady Cook is, okay? Thomas Castellanos is a dynamic runner of the football, okay? He'll do flips, back flips, whatever you want him to do in the backfield back there before he throws the football or runs for 45 yards. He'll do it, and he'll do it excellently, okay? Is that a word? Excellently? I think it is. Boston College, they're number 9 in the country in rushing per game, okay? A top 10 rushing offense going into a hostile environment, that always helps an offense. If they're able to hold on to the football and rush the football well, that opens things up immensely in the passing game. And it also quiets the crowd because you don't have a bunch of big plays happening in the defense for that home team, okay? There's not a bunch of interceptions, batted balls, incompletions, slow drives that can get the other team's offense, the home offense in this case, Missouri, dynamic offense. If we can keep them off the field, which Boston College does an incredible job of that all year, they're 11th in time of possession. If Boston College can keep them off the field, like they did against Florida State a couple weeks ago, there's a road to success for Boston College. I'm not just talking about covering this game because you're getting over 2 touchdowns here. Over 2 touchdowns. I'm not just talking about covering. I'm talking about winning the game. Bill O'Brien could go in there and get 2 top 25 wins. Now, is Florida State a top 25 win? We can have that discussion another time. But Missouri, most definitely. I mean, they're 6th in the country right now. Could they be Notre Dame from last week? Now, Notre Dame, different situation. Different team, obviously. I think Missouri's a much better football team. But this could easily happen. Boston College could go in there and win this football game in Columbia. No doubt in my mind. Now, Boston College, they're 4th in the country in third down defense. Talk about things that can help you if you're on the road. Running the football, keeping the ball away from the home team, and third down defense. If you can get your defense off the field in those critical situations, that crowd goes from, the loudest crowd in the world to crickets. And you can operate your offense. You don't have to put your hands up on your headphones anymore to hear what the coaches are calling you if you're Thomas Castellanos. You can just run your normal offense efficiently, quickly, well, in this case, slowly, because that's what they like to do. So there's definitely road to success here for Boston College. And I'm not going to say I see it happening because we'll talk about what Missouri has to offer on the other side right now. But Boston College can win this football game and can most definitely cover the 16.5 that we're looking at right there. Okay. Now, for Missouri, I talked about how good Boston College is running the football, especially with the quarterback run game. Missouri's stats are a little skewed because they haven't played literally nobody. But that's what we have to go off with, and that's why the gut is important in these football games. Okay, they're 34th in rush defense. They have the number one pass defense in the entire country. However, Boston College, they're not super efficient in the passing game already. Now, does that mean Missouri's probably going to stuff the box and try to stop this Boston College rushing attack? Probably so. So that worries me a little bit if I'm a Boston College fan, but I'm not. That gets me excited if I'm Missouri. Hey, we have a great back end here. We can sacrifice a few defenders and stop this rushing attack from Boston College if it means we stop their one threat. Okay, and that's what they need to do. That's what Missouri needs to do in this game is stop Castellanos running around back there like a wild man. Okay, now I mentioned how good Boston College is at keeping the football away from the other team. Missouri, they're even better. Now, again, Missouri has not played the same level of teams that Boston College has. However, when you're seventh in the nation in time of possession through 2 weeks, you're pretty good at keeping the ball away from people. It doesn't matter who you're playing, okay? So that's something to note. Now, Missouri, couple stud wide receivers, Theo Weiss. Everybody knows about Luther Burden, but Theo Weiss, I believe, is sixth or seventh in the SEC in receiving yards. He's a sixth year senior. He knows what he's doing out there. And if Luther Burden gets all the attention, watch out for Theo Weiss in this football game. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands and just running routes. He's a very good wide receiver. Watch out for Theo Weiss in this game. Everybody knows about Luther Burden, but watch out for Theo Weiss, okay? Now, Missouri, third down offense, fourth in the country. I mentioned how good Boston College was at getting off the field on third downs, okay? Boston College was fourth in the country in third down defense. Missouri, they match that offensively. So that's gonna be good right there. Good versus good going up against it this weekend. Now, the pick for the game. Now, I think Missouri wins this football game. I think they just have more talent, more speed, more physicality. However, I think Boston College finds a way. I think Bill O'Brien finds a way with Thomas Castellanos to keep the ball away from Missouri long enough to keep this game within 16 and a half points. I really like that line, and I really like Boston College covering the 16 and a half in this football game. Give me the Eagles to not win, but to cover the 16 and a half. I like that pick a lot. Okay, let's move right along. Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Not going to tell you too long on this one because Northern Illinois, they were a 13 seed in March Madness a couple years ago. Reeled off a couple wins, but they're not reeling off a couple wins here. Nebraska, I like them to win. There's no spread on this game currently, so just give me Nebraska for a free win, okay? Arizona at Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 7 points in this football game. Gonna take a sip here. Good looking mug. Now, this is a Friday night football game. I believe this is also a game that is not a Big 12 matchup. They're both in the Big 12, don't get me wrong. However, I believe they scheduled this game pre Big 12 merger, Big 12 Pac 12 merger. So this is a non conference game for both of these teams, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of how Baylor and Utah was last week. Now, everybody knows. Everybody knows about Noah Fafita and Tatero McMillan over there on the Arizona Wildcats. Also, Wildcat versus Wildcat. Didn't realize that until I was just thinking about it right now. That's something to look for. Okay, who's the better Wildcat? That we will crown a Wildcat after this football game. Okay, I already know. I already know who I think is the better Wildcat, and I think that Wildcat will show up this weekend, or I guess Friday night. Everybody already knows about Noah Fafita, quarterback for Arizona, wide receiver Tet McMillan, probably the best in the country. Dude's 6'12". I guess 7 foot is how that would equal out. And he's long, he's fast, he catches everything that comes his direction. He's an absolute stud, okay? However, Arizona, they haven't looked particularly incredible, okay? They struggled a little bit with Northern Arizona last week, a couple days ago, and they struggled defensively the first week. Offensively, I think they're going to be fine. Defensively is where I'm a little bit worried about Arizona right now, okay? I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stop a team like Kansas State, a team that likes to hold the ball, a team that likes to run the ball, and then have some deep shots, play action down the field. That's where I'm looking at for the Kansas State Wildcats, the purple Wildcats. We got the blue Wildcats, we got the purple Wildcats, okay? Purple Wildcats here. Avery Johnson, flowing locks, great hair. He can run the football. I was a little critical of him in the Tulane game. He had some throws in the flats with his running backs where he just, I mean, it was a bad throw. Several times, 4 or 5 times that I can think of off the top of my head where he just missed the running back. It would have been 15, 20-yard gain. Um, However, he had some deep balls in that game against Tulane that were mightily impressive. And I thought, okay, that's good enough to get you a win against Arizona on Friday night in your own stadium. Okay. They're playing this in Manhattan, not the Big Apple, but the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. I love Kansas State in this football game. Okay. I also love Arizona. However, in this football game, Friday night at home, you have you have 7 points that you got to cover. I don't really care about that right now. I love Kansas State in this football game. I think Avery Johnson is going to have a field day, a lot of deep passes, a lot of play action. That is going to get them the win. Just bold prediction for this football game. I think 3 passes of 40 plus yards, 2 of them result in touchdowns for Avery Johnson against Arizona. Give me the Kansas State Wildcats. Come on, Purple Wildcats. You are the king of the Wildcats after this football game. Moving right along. This is a fun one. Notre Dame at Purdue. Okay. I have my little notes over here, and I have just one note written down for this game because I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on this football game. Notre Dame, 11.5 point favorite at Purdue at the Boilermakers. Look, Notre Dame obviously coming off one of the most disappointing losses of all time. That's not a joke. Can the Fighting Irish, can they get it together against Purdue? I'm leaning no, and I have one stat. The gut already told me pick Purdue, so I'm going to throw it up there. I picked Purdue, and then I looked at the stats. And if the stats confirm the gut, then it's stats plus gut equals win. Now, if it's guts minus stats equals question mark. But if they coincide and we're on the right team, it's a win, automatic win. This is an automatic win right here. Purdue plus 11.5. Love it. Why do I love it? Purdue has the best third down defense in the entire country. You know what Notre Dame didn't do last week against Northern Illinois? They didn't play good on third down offensively. And you know why? It's because Riley Leonard couldn't do anything. That offense was getting beat to death, okay? Purdue's going to win this football game. I got ahead of myself there. Purdue is not going to win. Well, they may win, but I like Purdue to cover the football game. Will they win? I'm not sure, but I think they cover the 11.5 that they are getting, and I like that. Give me Purdue plus the 11.5 because of their third down defense. Notre Dame has not shown the ability to do that. I don't think they do it again this weekend. Give me Purdue plus 11.5. Okay, Michigan. It's a sad day to be a Michigan fan, except it's not 2023 national champions. I know you guys are going to be tooting your own horn for decades to come. I like you guys. Arkansas State's coming to town. You're going to get your winning streak back on track here. And I also like you to cover the 22.5. However, I'm a little worried. I'm not sure you're going to be able to score 22.5, but I'm not sure Arkansas State's going to be able to score 1. So I'm a little conflicted, but I'll take Michigan minus the 22.5. Got to take a sip here before this game. LSU at South Carolina. This is one of the marquee games of the weekend. You have a top 15, top 20 team in LSU going on the road to Columbia, South Carolina. Shane Beamer getting a big W against Kentucky. Kentucky was favored by 10.5 a couple days ago, and South Carolina went in there and forced Brock Vandegrift, the quarterback for Kentucky, to have one of the worst stat lines I have ever seen for a quarterback in a football game. He completed 1 pass, ladies and gentlemen. He completed 1 pass. Well, it might have been 2 passes. Regardless, it was abysmal. If I'm arguing between one completion and 2 completions, that's not a discussion to be had because it's a horrible stat line. Okay, his QBR at the end of the game was 1.2. Zero's as low as you can go, just for reference. It was abysmal. South Carolina's defense was flying around the football field. They're number 2 in the country in sacks. They have 10. Dylan Stewart, True freshman. He's a big part of that. Now, he's not leading the team in sacks. He's not leading the country in sacks or anything like that. But when you watch this guy play, it's very easy to tell who he is because the broadcast is going to point him out a lot this weekend. But for those of you that have not seen him play, just go look him up in his first 2 games because I cannot understate, whatever the word is, how good this guy is at football. He will be the number one draft pick in 2027 when he's eligible to go to the draft. He might be a top 10 pick if he's eligible to go to the draft this year. That's how good he is. And I'm not just saying that to have a bold statement. That's how good he is at football as a true freshman, an 18-year-old kid. However, he's going up against an LSU offensive line that has given up a whopping 0 sacks this year. The LSU offensive line in pass protection has been what we thought they were going to be in both pass protection and run blocking. Okay. They've been one of the best at pass protection in the entire country. They have a veteran group up front. Can they withstand that South Carolina defensive line that is getting after the quarterback every single play through 2 games? Now, LSU, they have not been able to run the ball particularly well, especially against USC. And USC, much improved defensively. USC Trojans, not USC Gamecocks. A little confusing. LSU playing 2 USCs in the first 3 weeks of the year. They need to get that under control, better scheduling. I'm not sure. However, who do I like to win this football game? I think this game is going to come down to turnovers or penalties. Okay. Penalties and turnovers, very important for a road football team, especially in a hostile environment where South Carolina always makes sure the opponent is in a hostile environment. LSU, 106th in the country in penalties per game. Okay. Now, for reference, 130 is the worst you can do. Now, there's only 6 teams worse than them. So they're tied for 106. But if they had a couple more, they'd be in dead last. That's how bad LSU is in the discipline category, which is what most penalties are, discipline. That's how bad LSU is. Do you think it's going to be any better when they have to go into a hostile environment in South Carolina? I'm not sure. The jury's still out. We'll see on Saturday. But the gut is telling me probably not. Also, where LSU struggles, they're only +1 in the turnover margin. Now, you need to win the turnover battle. Hopefully, you don't have any turnovers. You can force 1 or 2 from Lenore Sellers, South Carolina QB. Young guy, still a little squirrely with the football. He makes some mistakes. Can LSU force him into a couple just horrific throws if they get to the quarterback? Can they force him into some horrible throws? Now, LSU forcing people into horrible throws has not been their strong suit this year. They're 97th in the country in sacks. Now, sacks does not equal pressures. They get a few more pressures. However, sacks impacted the game heavily. And if you're not getting to the quarterback and getting him to the ground, you're most likely not getting to him at a frequent rate. Okay. And LSU is not doing that so far this year. South Carolina, however, is letting anybody through. You know that meme of the guy at the stadium where he's just scanning people willy-nilly? He's not even scanning people. You're just walking right by and he's just standing there with his wand, okay? That's what South Carolina's offensive line is this year. I mean, they're letting anybody through, okay? Now, LSU, are you going to be able to get through an invisible offensive line, an offensive line that is non-existent for South Carolina? Because South Carolina is 120th in sacks given up this year. So they're really good at getting to the quarterback on the defensive side, and they're really bad at protecting their quarterback offensively. It's the exact opposite for LSU. They're really good at protecting their quarterback, and they're really bad at getting to the quarterback. Now, one of those is going to have to flip. And if it flips for LSU, I think they win this football game. If it flips for South Carolina, I think they win this football game. However, penalties. I keep coming back to these penalties. South Carolina's going to be rocking. This is one of their biggest games. I say that as if last week wasn't a huge game for them, especially for Shane Beamer. And they went in there and took it to Kentucky. And I think they're going to do the same thing this weekend. I think they win this football game outright. They also are getting 7 points. I love South Carolina in this football game. Let's move right along. Oklahoma, -14 at home against Tulane. Tulane almost beat Kansas State last week. I'm not Oklahoma almost lost to Houston at home. I'm not sure why this line is 14 points. I tweeted it out when the line happened. It was 14 and a half. I missed it. Hammer Tulane plus 14. I mean, this is as obvious as it gets to me. Tulane is very good. They're a very good football team. I think they got a little screwed last week against Kansas State. They should probably be the ones that came out of that with the W, but they didn't. It's football. It happens. But I love Tulane plus 14. I don't see Oklahoma covering the 14. I'm not sure who wins this game. I would stay away from a winner, but I love Tulane plus 14. We already talked about Arizona, Kansas State. That's a mistake. I like Kansas State minus the 7 points. OSU minus 20 at Tulsa. So they have to go all the way an hour away to Tulsa. Probably going to be a home game for Oklahoma State. I like Oklahoma State minus the 20 points. Oklahoma State's been good to me this year. 2 for 2 in Oklahoma State games. I was not good at Oklahoma State games last year. Let's make it 3-0. Oklahoma State, let's make it 3-0. Tulsa, they got a sneaky young quarterback that's pretty good. Local kid up there in Tulsa. Sneaky kid. Watch him against Oklahoma State this weekend. It's going to be a fun game. But I like Oklahoma State minus 20. Utah minus 21 and a half at Utah State. Rivalry, Mormon rivalry here. Look, I'm filming this early in the week. I'm not sure what the status of Cam Rising is. If Cam Rising is not playing in this football game, I reserve the right to go with Utah State. If he is playing, it's Utah minus 21 and a half all day, every day, but it's my show. If he does not end up playing, and I'm going to go even further. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. If he does not play this game, if he does not start this football game, I want Utah State given whatever the points are. But right now, it's Utah minus 21 and a half. Next game up, Ball State at Miami. It's Miami plus 30 or minus 36 and a half all day, every day. Now, sneaky, Ball State, they've only played one game. They held the ball for 42 minutes of that entire football game. Impressive. They're not going to do that against Miami. Cam Ward, he Heisman favorite right now? Possibly. Okay. Oregon at Oregon State. Civil War. Some of you are saying, Civil War? What are we doing? That's the rivalry here. Oregon State. It's called the Civil War. One of the most underrated rivalries in college football. I'm so glad they kept this together. Oregon, one of the most disappointing teams to start the year. I'm super disappointed in them. They were my national championship pick. Dylan Gabriel was my Heisman pick. It's not looking good if you're a Duck. And the Beavers, they do something really well that Oregon has not been able to do really well. Oregon's letting anybody through in the running game, okay? They cannot stop the run to save their lives. You know who's really good at running the football? The Beavers. The Beavers. Give me Oregon State plus 16 and a half. Love that in this football game. Kent State at Tennessee. It's Tennessee minus 48. I know that's a lot of points, but Kent State is one of the worst football teams in all of the FBS, okay? They're horrible. Tennessee minus 48. We already talked about Boston College at Missouri. Love Boston College plus 16 and a half. Not sure if they win, but that's a lot of points. I like Boston College. Ole Miss minus 23 at Wake Forest. Yeah, you already know. It's up there. Ole Miss minus 23. Look, they're rolling. They're going to be rolling until probably they play Georgia. So I like Ole Miss minus 23. Alabama minus 16 at Wisconsin. Okay. I debated in this football game who I'm going to pick. And I'm not even sure where I landed in this graphic. So what I say may be different than what it is on the screen behind me. And that's okay. That's okay. Alabama, one of the most undisciplined teams in all of college football right now. They're 115th, I believe, somewhere around there in penalties per game. Wisconsin is in the top 15, so they're very disciplined. Also, Alabama has to go to Camp Randall to play this football game. With that being said, Alabama's more dynamic, more speed, more physicality. I like them to win the football game. I also like them to cover. Okay, we match. Very good. Very good. Ian in the video and Ian pre-video are on the same track. Give me Alabama to cover the 16. I don't feel great about this one. Would not bet this game, but I have to pick it. UTSA at Texas minus 34. Give me Texas minus 34 all day, every day. Georgia minus 24 at Kentucky. Give me Georgia minus 24 at Kentucky all day, every day. Okay, that's it. We Now, some of you are saying, where was USC? Where was Penn State? They're not playing football games this weekend, guys. We have every team gets 2 bye weeks this year. We're somehow getting more football and less football. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the week 3 recap video. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There